الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I'd like the people please to come forward. There are so many cats here in front and we always have a problem in the back. Please come forward. I'll give you half a minute to do that. All the blessings and the reward is in front, subhanAllah. Might not be physical in the form of material in rands, but please fill the stuffs. Please fill the stuffs. Palestine seems to be in the headlines, not only today, not only yesterday or last week. It's been in the headlines for many, many years. But because of the manipulation of the media, we find that there's a time that there's a lull, a quietness. But let me promise you, the intensity of the Israeli atrocities, there's not a lull for our Palestinian brothers and sisters. It is intense as ever and ongoing as ever, despite a blanket quietness of the news. And our perception of the world is greatly influenced by the media. The words and the images and all the adverts, we are taken in by this. You know, in the spiritual dimensions, it said that the eye is the window to the heart. So whatever good you see, look, appreciate of Allah's beauty, it affects the heart in a good way. But whatever nonsense you will also see on the TVs, which is unfortunately being exposed to our children that are being brainwashed from small, they will be growing up with that type of muck within them. The way many people see the world and view others is greatly influenced by the perception created by the media. And we hear of the half-truths in a world where we find armies killed for their own political motives. Innocent people are most often the victims, children, women, elderly people. And unfortunately, in war zones today, we find it is in Iraq, it's in Afghanistan, it's in Palestine, it's in Sudan, it's in Kashmir, Kosovo, whatever names you want to put forward, it is there. And the Muslims are the majority of the victims, and the attack on them is not independent of their religion. It seems an attack on Muslims demanding their rights in Muslim-dominated lands is termed extremist, fundamentalist, uprising that needs to be crushed. Headlines is made when a Jewish couple, 2, 10, 15 people are killed, a huge cry is made. And of course, as Muslims we condemn when atrocities are done to Jewish, innocent people. We must condemn that equally as we condemn it on our Palestinian brothers and sisters. We find in Gaza, this military offensive that has been taking place for many years is just intensifying. And just recently I'm hearing, maybe it might be true, it might be a rumor, it might be facts. They are blaming Hamas because of the rockets that is coming through. But I'm hearing that is not the primary reason why Israel is going in. It's because they think they have discovered gas. So obviously, now you hear Obama coming in, we will assist Palestinian people in reparation. Of course, it means big contracts, like Bush did in Iraq. Big contracts. And if there is gas, the first rights will be for the Americans. Like the Arabs in the Aramco in those years sold their wealth. And we're finding this wanton use of force, punishment, and terrorizing of civilian populations and other illegal actions of the occupying power, which is Israel, including their targeting ambulances, medical rescue teams, assistant relief work, and have no justification whatsoever. Yet the public condemnation is not there because the news has been minimized. The only mention was that an Israeli raid was in response to some missile attacks from the Palestinian village on the border. And hence you find this disproportionate, excessive use of force by Israel, where you will find horrific things if you look at your emails and see the crazy pictures of babies, Israeli soldiers stepping onto babies' heads and crushing them, standing and mocking them, pulling the trigger without any form of remorse. That's how hard insan has become. Israel has been pursuing this policy in the Gaza Strip, in Palestine, and they're also continuing this ethnic cleansing. I've been speaking about this last week, and inshallah I hope to end. Not that it will be the end. It's just a reawakening within us in case we go to sleep. We have the most diabolical word that is being used by the Zionists, and they call it the Holocaust. That's the irony. The very Holocaust that was perpetrated on the Jews in the Second World War, they are now using the word. And I quote to you, in 2008 February, the Israel's Deputy Defense Minister, Matan Volnai, threatened Palestinians in Gaza with a Holocaust. The more, and he says, and I quote, the more Qassam fire intensifies and the rockets reach a longer range, the Palestinians will bring upon themselves a bigger Holocaust because we will use all our might to defend ourselves. And we find from that date, it's about a year ago, when he made that statement, it has come to fruition, whatever he has been talking about. And it will go down in history as the beginning of a new phase in the colonial conflict between Israel and the Palestinians, whereby a senior Israeli leader said, a leftist for that matter, has publicly revealed the genocidal plans Israel is considering to implement against the Palestinians in its military occupation. If they do not cease to resist its dictates. For a Jewish leader to speak like this today about Holocaust is very sad, because it befell them in their times. We also are amazed and saddened by the indiscriminate killing of the innocent civilians in Palestine and Lebanon and various other places by the barbaric, bloodthirsty forces of a racist regime. And it goes unchecked by the world governments. No one condones the taking of hostages like some of the so-called Muslim groups are doing. Some of them are Hezbollah, some of them, and they're quoting names left, right, and center. But it does not warrant thousands of innocent civilians should be attacked from the air and from the land and from the sea by the Israeli bullies. In full view of the world, we see it on TV how proudly they display the might of the Israel. And this is what media does to us. Yet the imperialist voices insist that Israel has a right to defend itself. And Obama, whom many of us seem to pin our hopes, and I've said this a few weeks ago, as nice it might seem, they're trying to compare him with Nelson Mandela, they're trying to compare him with this. Last night he said, Israel has the right to defend themselves. Did you expect anything else, my dear brothers and sisters? Did you expect Obama is going to save us? Astaghfirullah. We also should ask the question and tell the world, should not the unarmed have most right to defend themselves? We find spineless, cowardly Muslim governments are not only impotently helpless, but they are cowardly silent. Have you all forgotten the Western law and the Islamic law? It shares the same principle. Silence is consent. Be very careful. And what are our brothers and sisters in our place asking? What are they saying? وَمَا لَكُمْ لَا تُقَاتِلُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَالْمُسْتَضْعَفِينَ مِنَ الرِّجَالِ وَالنِّسَاءِ وَالْوِلْدَانِ. Allah says in the Quran, this is what they are saying. And what is wrong with you? That you fight not in the cause of Allah, and for those weak and ill-treated and oppressed among men, women and children. الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ, whose only cry is, رَبَّنَا أَخْرِجْنَا مِنْ هَذِهِ الْقَرْيَةِ الظَّالِمِ أَهْلُهَا. Oh Allah, oh my Rabb, rescue us from this town whose people are oppressors. Ameen Ya Allah. Ameen Ya Allah. وَاجْعَلْ لَنَا مِنْ لَدُنْكَ وَلِيًّا وَاجْعَلْ لَنَا مِنْ لَدُنْكَ نَصِيرًا. And raise for us from you one who will protect us, and raise for us from you one who will help us. Ameen. Ya Rabb. And I repeat that dua. رَبَّنَا أخرجنا من هذه القرية الظالم أهلها. آمين. ربنا أخرجنا من هذه القرية الظالم أهلها واجعل لنا من لدنك وليا واجعل لنا من لدنك نصيرا. يا رب. آمين يا رب العالمين. This moral corruption that we find today, we find thousands of Westerners are running out also from wherever the bombarding is taking place. Even the Americans are running away. We have to ask the question again, whose bombs are they fleeing from? Their own government. Their own government, they couldn't care about them even. We have core issues, refugees, Jerusalem, the borders. The major themes reflected in the United Nations resolutions against Israel over the past years and decades are its unlawful attacks on its neighbors, its violations of human rights of the Palestinians, including deportation, demolition of homes, and the collective punishment we find, and confiscation of Palestinian land, and establishment of illegal settlements. And we can go on and on. The land is so long, the list is so long. Yet, Israel refuses to abide by the United Nations Charter of the 1949 Fourth Geneva Convention relative to the protection of civilian persons. So what does it mean? They couldn't care two hoots about who's talking, none. They are arrogant and they will do what they want to do. And we make dua that Allah must send His army to help. Amen. Because our Muslim armies are absolutely hopeless and spineless. Because they only want to entrench themselves and to empower themselves and enrich themselves. That is what's happening. And don't reflect the wishes of the people by the government that is leading them. Because what the government is doing and what the people want in the Muslim countries is not the same. And there are so many articles that we can talk about. Subhanallah. There's Kathleen Christensen, a former CIA political analyst. There's Dr. Michael Wachowski. They are all, and I'm just watering it down, we have not time to speak about it. They say that Israeli madness, the insane brutality, a putrefaction of civilized society that have set Israel on a suicidal course. And they see the end of Zionist enterprise and the end of Israel as a gang of hoodlums. Amin ya Rabbal Alameen. Because it goes further by saying that makes a mockery of legality and of civil morality. We find so many United Nations testimony that has been taking place. And the one personality says, a humanitarian relief coordinator, he says this seems to be an excessive use of force in an area with so many civilians. It's uncalled for. You don't need that type of force. This disproportionate response says one person. We find even United Nations relief workers are not safe from Israeli bombs. How many of them were killed? And when Kofi Annan at the time and many others, the General Secretary of the United Nations, complained to Israel and they promised United Nations they will cool down with the bombs, they were lying. They just carried on with their killing. We find hypocrisy. These are the two words that America likes to use. Hypocrisy and democracy. Hypocrisy, the Americans proclaim that they want democracy for the world. Yet they sit idly by watching hundreds of Palestinian civilians killed by a well-armed and well-trained army. They refuse to call for a ceasefire, and instead, what does America do? They expedite shipment of bombs and different types of chemical warfare material they pass on to them. The stuff they destroyed our Iraqi brothers and sisters, they now are pushing on to our Palestinian brothers and sisters. So this is the American version of democracy. And don't for a minute think that Obama can move and change anything because his advisors are Zionists within the government that is controlling him. So he's got to toe the line. And if only Allah in His infinite mercy changes and brings about a change of hearts in the Muslims, then neither America, neither Britain, neither China can withstand the forces. Please understand, my brothers and sisters. We've had an America and a Britain superpower many, many centuries ago in the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire. They were just as powerful, if not more powerful than the current regime. But Islam overthrew them. Why? Because they obeyed. وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولِ. They obeyed Allah and His Rasul. They loved Allah and they loved the Rasul. They loved humanity. They gave themselves over and above anything else because that was Iman. What is our current spineless government's Iman? Money, power, political power, entrenchment of ourselves within the state. We find people also talk about collateral damage. When a Muslim woman or baby or a girl or a father or a mother dies or loses an arm, what do the word they use? That's part of collateral damage in warfare. Means nothing. It's a shame that we, the people of conscience, are angered by the arrogance of the Zionist occupiers, and we are disgusted by the unashamed biasness of the Western world towards Israel. And we are disappointed at the impotence of the Arab rulers. And we are absolutely dejected at the inability of the Ummah to rise beyond petty differences and work for the common welfare for the global community of Imam. While so many of the self-righteous amongst us are concerned about the aqidah and beliefs of one another, the Zionists are equally killing and brutalizing, whether you're Sunni, whether you're Shia, whether you're Salafi, whether you're Hanafi, whether you're Shafi, whether you're Maliki, whether you're a Sufi, whether you're a Gufi, it does not matter. Those bombs will come regardless of that, wherever you are. They make no distinction amongst us, whilst we are too busy with other technicalities amongst us. We have to prioritize where our Iman starts. If we engage and debate on aspects that Islam is gauged by the length of our beards and by the length of our kurtas and by the length and the biggest amamas that we have and the biggest tasbih that we pull and the millions of Allahs that we do, and then we're not worried about our Palestinian brothers and sisters, then the same thing will happen to our brothers and sisters in former years. When Genghis Khan came with his Mongols and they killed the Muslims, what did the Maulvi say? Oh, go to the masjid and pull 1,000 times Allah, Allah. Allah will come to you. Really? You were supposed to defend yourselves. That is what Allah is saying. The believer's responsibility of being a voice of conscience and a catalyst for good in all circumstances. In time of challenging crisis, we recall the advice of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The solidarity, says Nabi alayhi salam, of Muslims in their mutual love, mercy and sympathy is that of a body. If an organ aches, the whole body sympathizes with it, with sleeplessness and fever. That is the hadith. We also have the responsibility of distancing ourselves from the injury and killing of innocent civilians, whether it's Hamas, whether it's Hezbollah, or whether it's Israel. We don't take sides. When the wrong is wrong, we overlook a Muslim one. No. When it's incorrect, whether it's Muslim or non-Muslim, it's incorrect. Allah says in the Holy Quran, and here, the irony of it is, this was addressed to Bani Israel in Quran. من أجل ذلك كتبتنا على بني إسرائيل أنه, because of that, says Allah in the Quran, we ordained for the children of Israel that what? من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا. If anyone killed a person, says Allah, not in a retaliation of murder or to spread mischief in the land, it should be, and it was taken as if he has killed the entire humanity. وَمَنْ أَحْيَاهَا فَكَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا. And if anyone saved a single life, it would have been as if he has saved the entire of humanity. Brothers and sisters, how far have we moved away from this motto of the Quran, especially our Muslim governments, some of our Muslim governments? Let us remember our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, the true believer is one in whom humanity at large finds safety and security regarding life, honor and property. We hope for peace. We realize that there can be no peace, no real peace in the absence of justice. And we pray that Allah Almighty, in His infinite mercy, guides the hearts of influential people, the conscience of influential people, and the conviction of influential people and governments, whether it's Jew, whether it's Christian, or whether it's Muslim, to work for the welfare of humanity and the goodwill of all creation. I spoke on a few things last week as well when I spoke about the issues of boycott. I need to explain one or two hadith which I did say last week in the khutbah, where it is said by Ibn Umar, إن اليهود إذا سلموا على أحدكم إنما يقولون سلام عليك. It was related by Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu. The Prophet ﷺ said, when the Jews greet any one of you, they say Samu alayk. They don't say Salamu alayk. They say Samu alayk. What does it mean? Death be upon you. And the Prophet ﷺ said, how should you respond? Wa alayk. It is salah for you, and the same upon you. There's another hadith. It says, لا تقوم الساعة حتى تقاتلون اليهود حتى يقول الحجر وراءه اليهود. The hour will not be established until you fight against the Jews, and the stone behind which a Jew will be hiding will say, Ya Muslim, هذا يهودي ورائي فأقتله. There is a Jew behind me, so kill him. Subhanallah. We are waiting for that time of the Akhirul Zaman, because it looks like it's only Imam al-Mahdi, rahimahullah, that can come and save this type of situation. I spoke about boycotting of products and everybody just jumping on the bandwagon, and I need to give and share direction with yourselves and myself. And I quote to you the fatwa of Sheikh al-Qardawi, a very prominent personality who wrote Halal al-Haram. He says, when it comes to dealing with the people of the book, the Jews and Christians, we should differentiate between 2 points. Muslims are not allowed to indulge in any form of dealings with the militant Jews. That is clear. Who tend to wage war against Islam and Muslims. So we have to fight them with every tooth and nail. But Allah also speaks about the ayat of the Quran. إِنَّمَا يَنْهَاكُمُ اللَّهُ عَنِ الَّذِينَ قَاتَلُوكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ وَأُخْرِجُوكُمْ مِنْ دِيَارِكُمْ وَظَاهَرُوا عَلَى إِخْرَاجِكُمْ أَنْ تَوَلَّوْهُمْ وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Allah forbids you to befriend those who fought against you on account of your religion and have driven you out of your home and helped to drive you out, that you befriend them. And whosoever befriends them, then such are the wrongdoers, the zalimun. Nabi alayhi salam has said, the fatwa carries on. Nabi alayhi salam has said in the hadith, fight the kuffar with your hands, with your money and with your tongues. And from the second category, the people of the book, the Christians, and the others, as we have stated above, we can say that if there are swords drawn with the Muslims, then all the products have to be boycotted. However, if they are at peace with the Muslims, then there is nothing wrong with exchanging imports and exports with them under the condition that such form of trade will be limited to that which is lawful. And here Allah mentions the ayat in the Quran, لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم إن الله يحب المقسطين. Allah does not forbid you to deal justly and kindly with those who fought not against you on account of your religion, nor drove you out of your homes, Verily Allah loves those who deal with equity. The Prophet ﷺ, you know and I know, he signed treaties with the kuffar. And we know many a times and incidences, for example, when Bani al-Nadir and Bani Qurayza fought against the Prophet ﷺ and they violated the treaty in Medina, the Prophet exiled Bani al-Nadir and allowed Bani Qurayza to remain. But then they broke the treaty, the typical Jewish. They broke the treaty, you can't trust them. So he expelled all of them out of Madinatul Munawwara. And that's how we deal with our non-Muslim brethren of the Ahlul Kitab today in our country. Are they kicking us out? Are they making war against us? These are the things we have to look at. It's very easy to say boycott this and boycott that. We have to use our judgment and our hikmah, our wisdom. Dr. Fuad Mukhaymir, he's from the Al-Azhar, who has passed away, Allah yarham. He says, no doubt that the brilliant and innovative minds of Muslims will never stop pulsating and inventing that which is new and beneficial. But the weakness that has crept deep in the body of Muslim Ummah does not justify our backwardness. Subhanallah. Rather, every committed Muslim ought to spare no pains performing any job he is entrusted with perfection in order to help push forward the economic progress. That's what we have to look at. Don't just become a doctor and think your aim is, inshallah, oh, I must get a nice car, nice this. What does the Zionist think? No, when I become a doctor, I become the head of the faculty of the Dean of Medicine. We limit ourselves to material things. They think way ahead. Like Thomas Herzl, I gave you the speech last week. In 1897, you already planned what was going to happen now. It works well. Ya Allah. We also, there are so many. The one scholar, Dr. Sayyid Nuh, also from the Al-Azhar, he said we should differentiate between the durriyat and tahsiniyat. In other words, that which is necessary and that which is luxuries. If the products that Muslims tend to buy are from the second category, in other words, luxuries, cigarettes, it's harmful to you, they want to kill you, cancer you, don't even think of buying it. Some of the ulama says it's makruh, some of the ulama says it's haram to smoke cigarettes. Simple thing. The ulama, they say it's makruh, they probably smoke. You know, this is the thing that we tend to find in our society. However, if some of our Muslims find themselves weak and have strong desires to buy goods that belong to luxuries, says the fatwa, then they should not buy from those who support the Jews and the Zionists, who occupy Palestine and kill innocents and demolish houses and plunder. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, he who helps the enemy to kill his fellow brother with a half word will be brought before Allah on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah with the phrase written between his eyes, he has no space in Allah's mercy. May Allah protect us from that. Ya. We ask Allah, and we laud many of our South Africans that are not Muslims, like Zwelin Zima Vavi, the General Secretary of COSATU. They have written a sting letter condemning the Zionist state and the Israeli embassy in this country and the Jewish board in this country. It's too long to speak about it. Our time is up. May Allah in His infinite mercy make us aware and increase our iman so that we can prioritize and at least lift up our hand. Allahumma ansur al-muslimeen wal-mujahideen fi Palestine. وانصر المسلمين والمجاهدين في كل مكان وأين مكان يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم ارحمنا واحفظنا يا مولانا يا أرحم الراحمين. May Allah bless you. We have very expensive watches and sunglasses that is being laid here, left behind. If you don't come collect it soon, it's been lying for nearly a week now. I'll sell it to defray expenses. We make special dua for our brother, our Sheikh Irfan Josephs. He's gone an operation. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him shifa and kamilan and bring him back to his family. And all those who are ill, shifa and kamilan, whether it's in body or in spirit, may Allah give shifa. Make a special dua for brother Sabri David, who used to sit here at the back. His wife teaches madrasa in the afternoons. Her husband passed away last week. Big janazah, mashallah. May Allah give maghfirah and jannatul firdaus, light in the qubur. For those 4 children, Allah give them itminan and sakina in the hearts, especially for Saadia, Muallima Saadia, also give itminan and sakina and sabr and patience. Ya Allah. Our classes that we run here start from 3:30 till 5. We also have classes here on Wednesday between Maghrib and Isha, where the Badil al-Zaman Sayyid Nursi group, they have a session between Maghrib and Isha. Please attend. My classes will start inshallah this Tuesday between Maghrib and Isha. We'll be starting with the commentaries and tafsir of the surahs of Juz Amma, Al-Fatiha, small surahs inshallah. We hope inshallah to follow that up with a kitab called Ash-Shifa by Qazi Iyad, and that will be between Maghrib and Isha. And inshallah by next week, you've been seeing people taking videos. I thought maybe they just like me. But these videos are when we start selling from next week, inshallah. And last week's lecture and today's lecture is part 1 and part 2, Palestine, the history, and today's more contemporary. It will be sold at the back. We will work out the price. It will be the DVD rather. It will probably be a very nominal figure, and that will be going towards the maintenance of the mosque. Please, whatever the minimum amount is, don't ask for change, drop extra. Because 20 and just drop 100 rand. There's nothing else you can desire more. And please, your parking, don't forget the haq of our neighbors, non-Muslim neighbors. Please don't park, don't give them any hurt, any cause.